Hello, everyone. I'm Gina Van Luven. I am a board certified health coach. I've been coaching for almost 20 years now. And I also own a franchise called Prime IV Hydration and Wellness. And there are, at this point, over 150 locations around the United States. But my location's in Northeast Mesa in Arizona, which is where I grew up. But I actually live in Park City, Utah. So I go back and forth.
Yeah, welcome. What is your secret to a good life?
That is such a tough question. And when you asked me that, I was like, there's so many. There are so many little nuggets that I've got over the last 20 years. Probably that's where I've had my major growth period, was really in the last 20 years, that mental growth, emotional growth, spiritual growth. But I think honestly, it's trying not to sweat the small stuff. I mean, it's all perspective, right? And I know I've caught myself many times saying, oh, this is a first world problem, right? Like you're complaining that your car won't drive right or whatever. And realizing some people don't even have a car to drive, or don't have running water or clean water or electricity. And so just reminding myself, especially after having visited India and seeing what it's like there, just reminding myself when I'm feeling like I'm going through some issue, is that somebody always has it worse than me. And things that are trivial, I just need to let them go. Take a deep breath, say my swear words, whatever at the time, and get over it really quickly. Otherwise, all this stress builds up inside of you and it just compounds over time and makes you sick, which is not a good thing.
Did you get to that sickness? Did you get sick from all the stress?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Of course, I didn't know that it was when I was going through it many years ago. And then more recently, when I opened my business, just having excess stress, that was definitely impacting my health. But I knew what it was from. I knew it was stress. So I knew that I could add additional adaptogens, do my best to get some extra sleep, taking natural sleep aids to make sure I'm getting extra sleep, just to help my body manage the stress. Because, I mean, let's face it, sometimes stress is inevitable anyway, right? But sometimes you just have to push through certain things. And if you know how to mitigate when you have those extra stressful times, I think that is key. It's being able to manage those situations better than if you had no tools.
Yeah. In all the neuroscience that is coming out recently, and I get the benefit of, my wife is currently in the neuroscience program at University of Texas at San Antonio. So it's an exciting time because it's so high growth. There's so many new studies. There's so many people willing to be studied as well, because everyone's kind of got this fascination with the brain now. And it will here. Not only is stress inevitable, but it is purely chemical in your body. When you feel threat, you will have cortisol that is produced in several areas of the body, including the brain stem. And what ends up happening is you have, and like, have you ever heard of Jose Silva, the Silva meditation? It's fascinating. So he's this guy from Laredo, Texas, which is like 3 hours away from me in San Antonio, super close to the Mexican border. And I believe that he was a therapist and a psychologist, and studied this method of letting things go. It's this like cross between hypnosis and transcendental meditation. And those ideas were turned into later they were adapted in the Sedona method. Have you heard of the Sedona method?
No.
Oh man, we talked about it on the show. So it's another one where you literally think about the thing, right? That you're stressing. You feel the cortisol in your body. You notice the stress response, and you calm. Your deep breath was the best advice that you could give, because it just gives your brain an opportunity to identify what's happening in the body. Once you do that, you have to actually articulate. You have to say out loud, I'm stressed about this thing. Right? This thing is giving me stress. This thing is like, I feel like I'm being chased by a lion because of this thing. Am I willing to let it go? Right? They say every time in Sedona method, like there's this like formula. Am I willing to let it go? When? And it's out loud. So you'll see me walking around my neighborhood doing this whenever I'm feeling stressed. When? Right now or tomorrow? Why tomorrow? You basically convince yourself with logic that it makes sense to just let it go right now. And then you have this conscious moment of letting it go, almost like prayer, right? You're after forgiveness or, whatever, and you just forgive yourself, right, at that moment. So they've now paralleled a study with the Sedona method in your cortisol production. And we've seen that your brain, just by thinking about and articulating the emotions that you're having, is just capable of sending all of the new juicy good stuff that we like serotonin and dopamine, to combat that cortisol. So you're probably built on that premise, right? You've that around your life, and it's that's, I think, to own a business, you have to find a way that you've processed to get yourself out of your own head whenever you're sweating the small stuff.
Yeah. I did a TED talk when I was living in Malaysia, and just specifically about this. And your body does not know the difference between a deadline and being chased by a bear. On the inside, not being chased by a lion or a bear or a dinosaur or whatever, but inside, your body doesn't know the difference. And if you imagine being chased by a bear every day and what that would do to you, that's exactly what's happening. You don't think about it, but that's what's happening inside your body. And so finding tools and ways to be able to mitigate that. And many years ago, I used to work for and I remember attending, I don't remember what type of seminar it was, but I was attending some type of a class. And the instructor, we were talking about stress mitigation. This is, probably it was more than 20 years ago for sure. And he showed me this technique, was similar to what you just said, but it was basically identifying what is this that I am thinking about. And then he did this whole motion with the idea of, I can't do anything about it right now. I'm going to let it go. And he would do this, I'm just going to let it go. And this whole thing. And so for me, at night when I'm relaxed, that's when my mind starts going, starts thinking about all of these things. Right. And some people, it's when they wake up if they end up waking up in the middle of the night, that starts to happen. And so I would practice this. There's nothing I can do about it right now. So I'm going to let it go. And I have to do that regularly because my cortisol will go up at night when I'm getting ready to go to sleep. And part of that is that relaxation. So I've learned that if you can meditate before you go to bed. So I like to lay on the ground in my living room with my arms open. And it's not a good sleeping position. It's not comfortable enough really to go to sleep unless I was really, really tired. And I can just relax my body, relax my mind. And then all of these things start flooding in. And then I have a notepad next to me and I can write those things down, what I'm thinking about. Now my brain is empty, so to speak. And then I can go to bed with these things already down on paper and not in my mind. And it helps me to be able to shut down and go to sleep.
So I want to change directions a little bit. Your stress mitigation techniques are excellent, but I kind of want to know a little bit more about what's going on in that coconut of yours. Here we are, human beings, infinitely, potentiated to do whatever. When you feel like you're at your best? When you're in low state, is there a sport or an activity, or like giving a TED talk? Giving a TED talk is a flow state thing. Once you're on that stage, any presentation, typically people are feeling very actualized. How do you find actualization in your daily life?
Well, I don't present all the time, but if it's a subject that I am passionate about, I can just go and go and go and get into flow state on that. But I would say that if I'm in a state of balance, which is what we all strive to be in, right? We always want to be in homeostasis. And sometimes I dip out of that depending on the situation. But if I'm eating healthy, mitigating stress, getting sleep, just waking up feeling energized during the day, I hit my stride about 10 o'clock in the morning. It takes me a couple hours to really get going. And just that feeling of alertness and being able to have good memory and concentration and recall things and have good ideas. And to me, that's an everyday flow that just feels good. And when I'm out of that, I've actually been doing a cleanse lately. So I'm I guess not the best timing with doing the podcast, but I'm actually a little off of what I am from a cognitive standpoint, because I'm doing a cleanse, and that kind of stirs things up. It's like dusting your house. You know, you're cleaning, but you're also, there's dust moving around. So it's kind of like that with the cleanse. But the feeling that just being really in tune with life is, I love that feeling of just being in tune.
I did. So I fast on accident sometimes, but I've gone long stints intermittent fasting because I'm just in it. I'm just doing the things, and I'm, wrestling kids and working and podcasting, and I'll forget to eat. But when I'm really mindful about it, like I did 75 hard, and my 75 hard diet was intermittent fasting. But I did ketosis like 3 weeks ago for 5 days. And I felt like the tip of an arrow. I was like so dialed in. I had lost like 8 pounds in 4 days because I was doing jitsu every day, and I had no carbs, and I was just like, I was loose. I was lucid. I felt amazing. And I did that same cleanse before my ayahuasca ceremony. So they had me do the dieta, which is basically like soup and vegetables, right? It's just very simple for the belly. You're drinking nothing other than water. And I felt like $1 million bazillion. So what cleanse are you doing, if you're comfortable talking about it?
It's a mishmash of different things that I've picked up over time, and just it's a little overdue. So just trying to get things cleaned out and make sure I'm in tip-top shape, especially with all the stress, and been drinking coffee here and there, which I don't normally do, just like trying to manage everything. So trying to get myself back to a normal state is what I'm trying to do, which I've been feeling great. And then doing the cleanse, like, oh, I don't like this part of the cleanse. It's not, not feeling 100% when you do this type of a cleanse, which is it's I'm pulling out toxins.
Yep.
So when you're pulling out toxins, then you start experiencing those toxins, and so that's what's creates some unpleasant symptoms of you're actually pulling them out of the tissue. Luckily, I don't have a whole lot of them anymore like I used to, but I still feel the negative effects from that. Just been doing a lot of traveling, being up in the air. It's like, blah.
So you gotta have a reset.
Yeah.
How long is it? How long does it last for you?
I'll probably do it for a couple of weeks. And
okay.
The last one I did was last year. It was like 5 months. It was it was like progressive, and it was a really serious cleanse. It was a good one. And I felt fantastic out of that after that. I was doing like coffee enemas, which I've never done before, because the whole idea of that is like, no, thank you. But it was amazing. If you discount the actual act of all of it, just like, you feel absolutely amazing after that.
I got to try it out. I'm down for anything. Feeling amazing. I find flow state when I'm doing martial arts. And I find that I feel the best when I don't eat Swiss rolls and Nutty Buddies. God, I love them so much.
When we started to transition away from what we would typically know as carbohydrates and trying to get into ketosis, it was really, really hard. So I tried to go to more keto or paleo, and it just kicked my butt. I mean, it was really hard. And I was like, this is not for me. And then just over time, I started replacing potatoes and rice. And I haven't had simple carbs really for a long time. Years. I mean, I will occasionally, but I just don't typically. But even like potatoes and rice, what we know is carbohydrates, I started replacing them with vegetables. So I get my carbs from vegetables. And just over time, I was able to make that switch. And I feel so much better when I eat like that versus when I have more of the what we
bread
know
and tortillas and
all the I haven't really had. I mean, I'm yeast, so I don't do bread very often. But I probably did a lot more of that. I would say probably 10 years ago, maybe 7 years ago, I went through this. But it was hard trying to get your body to switch over from burning carbs to burning fat. It was not easy for my body. It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, please stop. What are we doing? Ouch.
But I got tested, and I'm a fat burner. So I successfully made that transition. I feel a lot better when I'm burning fat versus carbs are dirty. It's dirty.
What test did you take?
You can do it through like a wellness center or something like that. It's
Can I walk into a Prime IV and get it done?
No, I wish, but it was like this pod that you sit in, and I don't know. They're able, you look it up online, like how do I do a fat versus carb burning test, and see if you can find one in your area.
Right.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I'm gonna post whatever I find for everybody. Gina, where can everybody find you?
GinaVanLuven.com. So that's a little tough to spell. It looks Van Luven, V like Victor, A N like Nancy, L-U, V like Victor, E like Echo, N like Nancy.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, you're welcome.
This has been the Pulse Ox podcast. Please, if you found this episode valuable, give us a like on Spotify and share it with a friend.